Hi darlings! Today I'm going to be talking archetypes and branding. Specifically, how to use archetypes to revamp your vision into an irresistible brand. In today's world of online business, startups and entrepreneurs, brands are being born so frequently it's actually unreal. New brands are born every single minute. It's a little bit mad when you think about it, right? Now, if you really want your brand to stand out and also stand for something real, you need a really good story. If you want the message of your brand to be really seen and heard, you need a really good story to hook your audience and get them to pay attention. And not only pay attention, but to get them invested in your vision. Now, a lot of us go into business with a particular vision in mind. What we want to achieve, what we want to do, how we want our business to look, how we want it to grow, and what we want it to stand for. And somewhere along the way that often gets lost simply to practicality. When you're first starting out, all you're trying to do is make some money. That's literally your obsession. You just need to get the clients, you just need to start selling the products, you just need to get some money coming in to cover everything that's going out. That is the nature of starting a business and it's perfectly natural. But the problem with it is you get so caught up in all of that. And somewhere along the way you turn around and you realise your business vision has gone. Now that might be because it's changed and the thing you originally set out to do and the way you originally thought everything was going to work didn't work and you had to change it. Or it might just be because you've got so busy, you've got so distracted, you've got so caught up in the practicalities of doing things that you haven't managed to hold on to the dream. And really, when you're running your own business, you should be running the dream. Because otherwise, what is the point? If you find yourself in this situation, don't panic. You're not that far away from your vision. You're not that far away from the brand of your dreams. You just have to revamp what you've got so that it is more in keeping with what you really want it to be. And the secret to doing this is to use archetypes. And by archetypes, I mean stories. So before I go any further, I should probably explain what is an archetype. Now, I can read you definitions of archetypes all day, but there really is only one that I want to share with you, and that's by Carl Jung, who is the psychologist. So, Carl Jung said of archetypes that they are forms or images of a collective nature which occur practically all over the earth as constituents of myths and at the same time as individual products of unconscious origin. Every human society we know of has mythology in one form or another. And buried in mythology are common ideas, common concepts, common ideals, beliefs and explanations for certain things. And if you didn't catch it, I did a whole video on this for National Storytelling Week a couple of weeks ago, so you should definitely check that out. I'll pop a link for that below. But basically, the notion is that there are certain things that all humans are preoccupied by. And Jung referred to this as the collective unconscious, which is a bit of a woo-woo term that makes you imagine some kind of weird matrix-like system where we're all jacked into each other and sharing our thoughts and ideas. It's not that at all. It's more the notion that all humans are born already knowing certain things. It's kind of intrinsic to our genetic makeup and our mental development that we come to understand certain concepts and ask certain questions, not because we all share this weird woo-woo collective mental thing, but just because we over the course of our lives come into contact with certain things that are similar. It doesn't matter where you are or who you are, we all have to eat, we all have to sleep, we all need shelter, comfort, we all have the innate desire to reproduce, we all watch the sunrise and the sunset, we all see it rain, we all feel the wind. All of these things, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, at some point you will come into contact with them. And because of that, because of this shared collective experience of what it is to be human, we develop very similar ideas and very similar questions. So for example, why is the sky blue? Where does the sun go at night? Things like this. And for primitive humans that didn't have science to explain things for them, they used stories to explain these questions. They used stories to craft meaning for the world. And those stories were essentially the same wherever you were in the world. They told the same story, or they explained the same thing, and the only thing about them that was different was the setting they were in, the characters that were in them, and the specific details, which were always intrinsic to the culture they were in. For example, almost every culture we know about has some form of creation myth, an explanation of how the world came into being. An archetype is literally a shared concept, something that we will instinctively recognise and understand, even if it's only on a subconscious level. As humans, we have an instinctual need for stories. We crave meaning, we crave understanding. Stories provide the human context for all those things that we find so difficult to understand. Concepts that are very old, incredibly vast, or simply really complicated. Stories are a very easy way for us to understand things, to explain things, and to make meaning. Enduring brands are not just about facts and figures. They're not just about information and characteristics. They convey value and they convey meaning, and it's this that makes them stand out from everything else. It's also this that is going to make your business in line with your vision, in line with your dream, rather than just being a mechanism for making money. And the really great thing is, once you infuse a brand with that value and that meaning, it becomes a lot better at making money than it ever was before. The most successful brands have a really, really strong sense of identity, but they don't just know who they are, they also very, very cleverly mirror and reflect who their target audience is and what they want to be. If you want to build a strong brand, you have to be reflecting the hopes and dreams and aspirations and inspirations of your ideal clients. That's really easier said than done. How the hell do you actually do that? Finding your voice in business can be really, really hard. I know I certainly struggled with it. When I first started out, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. All I knew was I had bills to pay, and I scrabbled around looking for every kind of work that I could feasibly do. I did all sorts. I did editing, I did proofreading, I did writing, I even did logo designs, book cover designs, formatting books. What else did I do? I did little 3D mock-ups of people's books that they could use in their promotions. I did fancy electronic signatures at one point. Literally anything I could think of that I was capable of doing while sat at my computer, I tried, because I was like, oh yeah, I can make a bit of money doing that. And the thing is, I did. It worked. I made a bit of money here and there doing every one of these little different things that I had. But I wasn't going anywhere. I had no cohesive idea of who I was or what my business was about. It was literally like being a jack of all trades. I did a bit of everything, and it never really got going. It never really went anywhere. And I was always really frustrated because I was really struggling to build an audience. But how exactly do you build an audience when you're talking to so many different people about so many different things who all want completely different things and have totally different hopes, goals and dreams? You can't do it. You're splitting yourself off in too many directions and you're confusing people. One week you're doing one thing, the next week you're doing something else. It's like, what exactly is your brand all about anyway? And the thing with my business in the early days is I was really proud of it. I had a snazzy name, I had a lot of really cool funky images that I used, And I thought that was what a brand was. I was like, yeah, my brand's sorted, it's solid. I know my brand colours, I know my brand fonts. I've got the funky little anime images that I use on everything. Oh god. But it really took a lot of work, and it took a lot of kind of soul searching to realise that even though I was quite capable of doing all the things that I was doing, they weren't what I wanted to be doing at all. I had a brand, but it was very, very shallow, and it didn't stand for anything. It didn't have any meaning, and it was so far from my vision. It was so far from my dream of what I wanted to be doing. It was actually ridiculous, because all I wanted to do was write. I wanted to write for people. I wanted to inspire people with my words. I wanted to spend my days being creative. I wanted to help people with their writing. I wanted to help people become better writers. I wanted to help people inspire other people through their own writing. So I knew what I wanted to be doing, and I wasn't doing anything even close to that. And that is such an easy mistake to fall into, and it's one that so many businesses do. Finding your voice, finding your identity as a business person, as an entrepreneur, as a brand is really, really difficult. Fortunately for me, I have a bit of an eclectic background in research, and I've read an awful lot on a lot of different subjects. And one of the things that I've learnt an awful lot about is mythology. And in the course of studying mythology, I learned all about archetypes. At some point, I stumbled across an article on using archetypes in your branding, and it hit me like the proverbial bolt of lightning that this was what was missing from my brand, was a clear, coherent message, meaning. And once I settled on my meaning, once I decided on what my archetype was and what I wanted my brand to stand for, what I wanted it to be, what I wanted it to mean to me and to my audience, everything got a whole lot easier. Figuring out your brand archetype is the shortcut to finding your voice, finding your identity as a brand, and connecting with your audience and your ideal clients. The market is absolutely dominated by brands that perfectly capture the meaning of their archetypes and explain that meaning in clear, coherent and succinct ways, but ways that are also very imaginative, very inspiring, very memorable. So what exactly are these archetypes that I keep banging on about? Well, there are two kinds. There are story archetypes, as in plot archetypes, and there are character archetypes, and I use both in my Divine Blogging Design. Now the character archetypes are quite complicated, and I will go over those, but on another day. Today I just want to talk to you briefly about the plot archetypes. Now, depending on who you read and depending on who you talk to, people will tell you that there is a magic number of plot archetypes. They'll say there are 7. There are only 7 plots. Or there are 9. There are only 9 plots. Or maybe there are 10, or is it 12? I do forget. There are so many different versions of this that it's actually difficult to put a real number on it and say, this is how many plot archetypes there are. And I don't actually believe that there are a set number. I think there are a certain number that are far more easily recognised than others, and I'm going to go over those in a minute. But I think there are also other ones which are perhaps not quite as popular, but no less powerful. So today I'm going to talk about the 7 main ones that really do make it onto absolutely every list. I want you to picture your brand, picture your business, think about all the things that you want it to stand for. I want you to really get it clear in your head before you listen to this next bit. What exactly does your brand mean to you, and what do you want it to look like? Have you got it? Good. Now I want you to hold that in your head, and as you listen to me listing these 7 different archetypes, I want you to see if you have a bit of a reaction to any of them. You might not. It might take a bit of thought. It might take you going through the list a couple of times and really kind of thinking about it, or it could be that your archetype isn't on this list of 7, because as I said, there are more. The odds are at least one of these is going to spark something in you. So number 1 is overcoming the monster. Now the monster can be literal, like Grendel in Beowulf and the troll under the bridge. Figurative, So not an actual monster, but more of a concept, or an institution, or a government power of some description that is in some way acting against you that you must overcome. So I'm going to give you a few examples of stories that are all about overcoming the monster. Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, War of the Worlds, Lord of the Rings, Dracula, King Kong, Frankenstein, Jack and the Beanstalk, Gilgamesh, Sherlock Holmes, Perseus, Theseus, The Hobbit. I could go on forever, but you get my point. These are really, really common narratives, and it's a really easily recognisable thing. But how does it relate to your brand? You are obviously not going to be slaying dragons, or at least I would hope you won't be slaying dragons, because I'm quite partial to dragons and I'd rather you let them live. You don't have to have a literal monster that you are overcoming. It could be that you help people to overcome a particularly difficult element of their lives, like stress, anxiety, depression, anything along those lines. For any nutritionalists or dieting experts out there, you're overcoming a monster, the monster being weight. See how this works? It can be all sorts of different things. The second archetype is one that you're all going to know very, very well, and that is rags to riches. Yes, I'm talking Cinderella. I'm talking about anything that epitomises going from nothing to something spectacular. So it doesn't have to be money. There are lots of different ways of being poor. You can be time poor, you can be lonely, you can be starved of knowledge, you can be starved of affection, you can literally be unable to find peace in your life. You can be poor because you have a lack of clarity, of understanding, of relaxation. God, there's like a million of these things. Rags to riches is one of the most powerful archetypes there is, because it speaks to people on such a fundamental level. It tells them, you don't have this at the moment, but you want it, and this is how you can get it. And look, I've already done it. If you want some examples of really, really powerful brands that are built on this archetype, I'll give you a few. J.K. Rowling, Oprah Winfrey, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, Ralph Lauren, Henry Ford, Walt Disney. There are loads of them. Loads and loads of super, super powerful brands are based on the rags to riches archetype, and it can be applied to almost anything. Number 3 is the quest. We all love a good quest, don't we? Yay! Saddle up the horses! We're riding to Isengard! Quests are one of those stories that everybody instantly recognises. There is a thing, and we need it for something. It's very important, but it's all the way over there! Quests are one of the most common narratives in stories, especially fantasy stories. I listed them already, but Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, they are both quest stories, which brings me to a very good point. You can have overlaps in these archetypes. You can have a brand that is one archetype and another archetype, but you will usually find that one of them really, really epitomises it and the other one is slightly lesser. For example, Lord of the Rings is both overcoming the monster and a quest, but the quest is to overcome the monster. So overcoming the monster is the dominant archetype of that particular story, but they both apply. Quests are really powerful in branding because you can quest after anything, literally anything. It might be a quest for knowledge, it might be a quest for truth, it might be a quest for understanding, a quest for love, health, safety, like, think of anything that you can imagine somebody potentially wanting, and they can quest after it. The thing with quests though is that they work best when it's something that is fundamentally needed for something. Okay, so it's not good enough that it's a pair of shoes and people want it. That's fine, you know, shoes are good, but you can live without them. Quests work best when they tap into something that is a fundamental need that your audience has. So the quest for love, for example, is what the dating industry is built on. Online dating, Valentine's Day and all the rigmarole that goes around that, lingerie, literally. All of these things, all of these types of brands are quests, but they are quests for love, lust and passion, which are three of the most basic needs that all humans have. And you suddenly see how a very simple archetype can infuse an entire brand and tell you exactly how to set it up and how to market it. Because if you have a brand that's all about finding true love, that sells itself, because it's a quest. It is a quest for something that you fundamentally need. Nobody can resist that. Number 4 is Voyage and Return. Now this is similar to a quest in the sense that you have to go somewhere for it, but unlike a quest, the destination is not the thing you're going to, but the thing you're coming back to. So you go on a voyage, you go through a journey, and along the way things happen and you may be changed, you may learn something, you may gain something, but you're always intending to come back to where you started. But the difference is, once you get back, you will be enriched and informed and empowered by what has happened to you on your voyage. Anything to do with knowledge is usually seen to be a voyage and return, because you seek knowledge, you learn something, and then you come back and you enact it. The most obvious example of this in terms of branding are, of course, travel agents, because they literally sell a voyage and a return. That's it. But you can use it in other things as well. This one works quite well for health and fitness. The journey being to lose your weight, get fit, learn yoga, learn to dance, any of those things. You're not doing it to end up somewhere different to where you are at the moment. You're doing it to make the place you're in at the moment better. Number 5 is comedy. And this is probably one of the easiest ones to understand, because we all understand having a good laugh. Now, how many brands can you think of that are based purely around making people laugh or providing entertainment in some way? Think The Simpsons. Think any other comedy show on TV. But in terms of branding, comedy brands can be anything that is really there to bring joy to people's lives. And of course, the flip side of comedy. Number 6, yes, 6 is tragedy. Again, this is one that we really understand on a fundamental level. Now, this is a bit of an odd one to use for brands, because a lot of people think, well, why would you want your brand to be associated with tragedy? But if you stop and think about it, a lot of business models, a lot of brands, a lot of products, a lot of services are all geared towards people who have suffered some form of tragedy in their life and they are recovering from it. So as a brand archetype, tragedy is not about bringing people tragedy, it's not about causing tragedy, it's about helping people through tragedy. So if you've had any kind of loss in your life, any kind of tragic circumstances, anything at all, a brand that helps you through it is a tragic brand. And it sounds very depressing, but tragic brands can actually be some of the most meaningful. If you think about the situations that people end up in after tragedies and how awful their lives can be and how horrendously changed that they can be by it, if you can be the brand that pulls them through, that gets them back on track, that makes them happy again, why on earth wouldn't you want to be able to do that? So I know it sounds a bit depressing, but it's actually quite uplifting. And last but not least is Rebirth, which is one of my favourite ones. Rebirth as a brand is all about going through some kind of fundamental change that transforms you in some way, that leaves you different to the person you were before. It makes your situation different to what it was before, your life. So coaching is often a very good example of this, because most coaches have some kind of rebirth worked into them in some way. So for example, business coaches take people who know very little about business and transform them into business superstars. lifestyle coaches can take you from a place that's really quite unhealthy for you, that's quite maybe depressing for you, or just, I don't know, boring, and they can help you transform your life into the kind of life that you want. Weight loss coaching, again, that's a transformation. Fitness coaching, transformation, any kind of coaching really is a really good example of this. But rebirth, it can be about different kinds of things. If your brand does anything that enacts a change in your clients, so it could be anything from a haircut to clothes, a new look, anything like that. If your brand has the power to transform somebody's life in a small way or a big way, in any way whatsoever, it doesn't have to be like earth-shattering, groundbreaking transformation. It can be simply giving somebody the self-confidence to go for a job interview. It can be showing somebody who's always kind of hidden away and had a really kind of demure and depressing style, how to actually dress in a way that suits them, that actually makes them more attractive to themselves, to other people, and to like really give them kind of a confidence boost, anything like that. There are loads of brands that really are transforming in some way, and that's a really, really powerful message. So what about your brand? Did any of those spark anything in you? Did you really click with any of those? Were you sat there thinking, oh my god, that's exactly me? Or are you still a bit kind of, I'm not really sure about this whole archetypes thing? I'd love to know. Pop a comment below and let me know. And I will be back very soon to talk more about archetypes and how you can use them in your business. If you enjoyed this video, do please like and share it. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure that you don't miss any more videos. Bye!